Good morning, everyone. I'm going to direct most of my talking to this side of the room. You all feel free to move up as well if you want to. My name is Molly Thompson, and I'm the Chamber's Member Services Director, and it's a pleasure to welcome you all here today. This is the final seminar as part of our Small Business Month celebration. Today we'll be hearing from Ron Casper, Procurement Subcontracts Manager at Four Rivers Nuclear Partnership, and Frank Bennett, Procurement Consultant with Kentucky Apex Accelerator, formerly KYP TAC. Regardless of size or industry sector, small businesses are adding revenue to their bottom lines through government opportunities. Our two presenters will discuss how certification programs can help small business succeed by offering unique advantages not available to larger businesses. But first, I want to thank our small business seminar sponsors, F&B Bank and Living Well Radiology. These two businesses have partnered with the Chamber for many years to sponsor our Small Business Month seminars in May. It is thanks to their generosity that we are able to offer these seminars to local small businesses at no cost. And I'd like to say a special thanks to you, Jeff Pierce, co-owner of Atomic City and Paducah Chamber board member, who is videoing our seminar series this year. We will be posting videos of each of the seminars on our YouTube channel and sharing links with any small business owner who is unable to attend in person. Now, I'll turn the program over to Ron to start.
Thank you, Molly. I appreciate everybody coming out today, giving us an opportunity to talk and meet one another. It's funny. You always anticipate who's going to be here, and I've already met two people that I think that we can establish a relationship with, so I'm excited about that. So I'm Ron Casper, as Molly said, and see, am I doing the clicker, Molly? We'll talk a little bit about who we are and how we do business, our regional purchase program, our small business goes, strategic sourcing, our vendors, solicitations or our RFPs, and then any upcoming procurements. I may have turned off the... There we go. So who we are a team led by Jacobs, the prime deactivation and remediation contractor on site. And their joint venture partners are Fluor Corporation and BWXT. So they established FR&P. So when we talk about FR&P, here's the folks that we're talking about. So we have a $1.6 billion performance-based contract with the Department of Energy. It's a 5-year base, which, by the way, we met that 5-year base June of last year, and we're on our option period right now. The contract started in May of 2017. 30% of all of our work scope is subcontracted. That means it comes out to folks like you. And more of that 30%, 50% of our activities, our procurement activities, go to small businesses. We employ over 1,000 folks at that site. So some of the things we do, or how we do business, is we purchase goods and services that support the work that's outlined in our contract with the Department of Energy. We conduct business using business practices under the terms of the DOE contract and federal procurement laws and regulations, is known as the FAR. I know that Kim has heard that term and Chad has heard that term some. Multiple internal and external audits are performed to verify that we are in compliance with our procurement standards and guidelines. As a matter of fact, we just went through what we call a PERT review. It is typically every 5 years. It's a major assessment, and we just finished that, and we've done really well on it. We support 5 counties, local counties, starting with McCracken, Ballard, Grays, Marshall, and Massac. DOE committed regional spending through FR&P is $20 million, and we do business with 78 local businesses. That number has grown since we put these slides out, which I think it's like 114 local businesses now. We strive to procure 50% of all dollars through small businesses. Here's our goals. Small disadvantaged 10%, woman-owned 10%, HUBZone 3%, and then service-disabled veteran-owned small business 3%. Those are our goals. We've got to meet those goals, or we strive to meet those. But I will say that we have met those in the past couple of years, which is really a good thing for our community. So a little bit of the categories that are important to us: the small disadvantaged business, that's at least 51% is owned and controlled by the U.S. citizens who are economically and socially disadvantaged. Woman-owned small business, at least 51% is owned and controlled by one or more women who are U.S. citizens. HUBZone small business requires certification by the SBA, and I think the HUBZone map has changed recently. So if you haven't been able to take advantage of that, check that out, because you will have an advantage if you are in a HUBZone. Veteran-owned small, at least 51% is owned and controlled by one or more veterans. And then service-disabled veteran-owned, at least 51 is owned and controlled by more than service-disabled veterans meeting eligibility under 13 CFR. So I'll make sure that these slides are available for you so that you can make sure that if you have any questions, and then make sure you see me before we leave. I can get your business card, and I don't have a card, but I'll make sure you have my phone number, so if you need to ask me a question, I'll be available to you. Strategic sourcing. So some of our guiding principles is to improve acquisitions through strategic sourcing. So we are always looking for new vendors. And that may be a surprise to you being out there at PGDP, you know, and that we would need new vendors, but we're always looking for new vendors, and hopefully I have two today from this meeting. Taking advantage of purchasing opportunities by continually reviewing our current needs versus the market conditions. Requiring vendors to provide sufficient pricing, usage, and performance data to enable the government to ensure we are receiving the best prices for commonly used goods. Ensuring the government gets credit for all activities executed against our strategic sourcing vehicle. In other words, we have to report all of this, and we report it monthly and quarterly and yearly, these numbers. We ensure that the strategic sourcing vehicles offer tiered pricing, and then we ensure the DOE cost savings and cost avoidance data from strategic sourcings are recorded correctly. Once again, we'll make sure these slides are available, but here's some of the areas where we go out and do strategic sourcing, as well as Mr. Frank, and Frank has been a great partner. We've been partnering now for almost 2 years, right, Frank? Yeah, and he is a tremendous source for us, so be involved with Frank. Here's kind of the vendor list. This is the important information that we go after. The most important thing, and you'll probably talk about, is being registered in SAM.gov. Frank, go through that with you. So I think that's all I have. I'll turn it over to Mr. Frank. I appreciate, again, everyone being here, and make sure that if you have any questions for me before you leave, that you just grab me, and I'll be glad to chat with you. Okay?
Hey guys, I'm probably not going to stay here this long because I want to annoy him by walking around the room. So thank you. Appreciate it. Oh, hey, can you give me the one that's on the green one, please? Cool. All right. So let me get a sense of who all is here. How many of you guys currently have at least written one bid, pursued one government opportunity at least? Okay. And you guys are friends. And actually, I can do this pretty quick. Can you introduce yourself?
My name is Julie Chambers Hunt. I own JCCB Vendors in Hannah Plaza next to Harbor Freight. We do corporate logos, promotional products, t-shirts, just about anything that you can think of for marketing.
Great. It's great to meet you. Actually, since there's only 6 of us, we can just go around the room. Go ahead.
I'm Savannah with Broadway Custom Framing. So we do custom framing, matting, assumption pattern, things like that.
Great, Savannah. It's great to meet you. Go ahead, guys.
I'm Joey. I'm the controller of Patriot Show, which is our carbon cleaning services for vehicles.
Yeah, this is a really cool business, guys. So,
I'm Brittany Long. I also work for HHO and help, I'm trying to get the HubZone certification right now, so we'll see how that goes.
yeah, we're working on a few certifications. Chad?
I'm Chad Byer with Top 5 Design Group. We're an architecture and interior design firm in downtown Toledo.
Kim Morris with GM Consultants. We're an engineering consulting firm. 90% of our work is federal, so we're a HubZone implementer.
Yeah, you guys are way on the other side of the spectrum. You're a client too, I think you know that. Way on the other side of the spectrum. We really have a full thing going here today.
My name is Neil Mazik. We've been in business here in Paducah for 7 years on the west side of town. Batteries plus bulbs. We sell just about every kind of battery or bulb that you can think of and ones that you can't think of. We also repair cell phones. We cut and program key fobs. And looking forward to doing business through the government side.
Cool, it's great to meet you, Neil. So here's what I'm gonna do, because we couldn't have a more diverse group of people in this room. And we also have an atypical setup today. So normally we do this upstairs and I can sit with my computer and just show stuff on screens. Every so often I'm gonna pull a Wizard of Oz thing and go behind these signs and change something on the screen. But then I'll act like it's magic, just to make it more entertaining because it's 8:15 in the morning. So, all right, I'm just gonna start with the basic intro for you folks that are fairly new to this. My name is Frank Bennett, as he mentioned, and I work for the Kentucky P-TECH. Now it's called Kentucky Apex Accelerator. You don't have to know any of that, just every so often the Department of Defense decides we want to change the name of a national program. What's great about my job, and it is a ton of fun, is I get to help, I work with companies all through West Kentucky, from basically the cutoff of Bowling Green to the end of the state, which is great because everyone in the middle of the state barely even knows where I am. And my entire program is funded by the Department of Defense, which means my job is to help small businesses of any kind to add government contracting to their portfolio. And I get to do it for free. I don't have to ever send you a bill, which is great because I don't like dealing with invoicing. So I literally work with companies, I work with over 250 companies, and they span any industry ever you could think of. And this will be the first thing I talk about. One of the misperceptions about government contracting is that it all has to do with tanks and military and that kind of stuff. No doubt our country does spend a bit of money on military and that kind of stuff, but our government, local, state, federal, anyone who's a government agency, which is far more organizations than you will ever think. On your way here, I guarantee you passed a building that is owned by the government. It's far more stuff than you could ever imagine. Yeah, Chad knows this well. The thing you have to understand is no government agency produces anything. So every single thing that they use, they have to get from a private sector company. Every single thing. When we do this upstairs, I go into a program and show how many hot dogs have been purchased by government agencies in the last 5 years, which, by the way, the answer is there's over 1 million RFPs that reference that they need hot dogs in the last 5 years. To give you a sense of the numbers, which are too big to comprehend for me, because I'm not the accountants in the room, the federal government spends about $600 billion a year with private sector companies of all kinds. The state spends well over $10 billion more a year, and then there's a whole bunch of local agencies as well. Between all three of them, there's more than $1 trillion a year spent by the government with private sector companies. And here's the good news. Other than that, I can't charge anybody. I guess that's the other good news. The good news is, as Ron mentioned, every single government agency and most prime contractors, like Ron's organization, have socioeconomic goals which are aimed at work going to small businesses. So I'll do a first thing here, referencing what Ron said. At the most basic of levels, you've got thousands and thousands of government agencies. These are actual government agencies that are, if they're federal, their web address will end in .gov. If they're state or like ours end in ky.gov, you've seen that. They're actual government agencies. And when they're given money from either their federal or state budget, it comes with some things attached. And in your case, we're talking about the Department of Energy, and the Department of Energy has socioeconomic goals. And what that means, similar to what Ron just showed, is that they have a goal to try to do at least 23% of all of their buying with small businesses. They want to do about 5% with woman-owned businesses, 3% with hubs-owned businesses, 3% with veteran-owned. That's a thing we'll get into later. Now, when they get money from whomever it trickles down from the general budget, in order for them to hit their goals, whoever has a contract with them will also have what's called trickle-down socioeconomic goals. The next company who is contracted with the government agency is called a prime contractor. And they're one. So a prime contractor also has socioeconomic goals. Now, sitting here about 10 feet to my left is one of the coolest prime contractors that I deal with, and here's the reason why. I'm guessing that DOE only requires you to do about 23% of your work with small businesses. But you guys have chosen on your own to do more than 50% of your work with small businesses. That's why these guys are one of the coolest prime contractors that I deal with. They've made a commitment beyond requirement from the government to focus on doing work with small businesses, which in turn benefits the entire West Kentucky economy. So thank you. So going back to what happens here is, so the government has these goals and they don't have to hit them, but they're working hard to hit them. So anyone they give a contract to, like Ron's agency, they're going to trickle down these goals. Then when they go out and look for subcontractors, do you have any idea how many subcontractors you guys have?
So, active, we probably have, we're around 100, 125 active subcontractors. Material contractors, or purchase orders for goods, we probably have 500 at a minimum, I think altogether our vendor list is somewhere around 1,000.
Awesome.
That's subcontractors and what we call material suppliers.
So he has a team of buyers, which we'll talk about in a second. You have about 10, right?
Right.
Yeah, we'll talk about it in a second. And every day they come in, their job, what's in their head, is I've got to find companies that will do the work that we need done for our contract, and I would prefer for these companies to have one of the socioeconomic certifications and be a small business. I'm about to say something that's informal and not written anywhere. So you can choose to ignore that I'm about to say this sentence. The reality is as they're doing their job every day, if all things are equal, they're going to give the work to a company that has a socioeconomic certification or is a small business over a big business. Are you okay with this sentence? Okay. Because, go ahead.
Yeah, we really do. What Frank is telling you is solely the truth that all things given equal, if you have a small business socioeconomic status, you will have an advantage in that regard. And for example, HubZone, that's a great thing for you guys to prefer or chase down because that will make a big difference. Actually, we're working with your group right now, I think, on procurement. If you were to hear me in my office with my people, I am continually saying, award to a small, award to a small, award to a small. That's my goal. That's what I want to do. So there are advantages out there for you all. Now, it depends what you're selling, right? But, I can look in this room right now and I know that every one of you have an opportunity to do business with us at FRP.
Love it. That's the key right there. If you don't spend time chatting with him or get with him by email after this, you're just letting money go.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're just letting money go. Where if you're going to let money go, give it to me. Back to it, thank you for that. That's spot on. And see, here's the thing where sometimes, I'm going to get in the weeds for a second and then come back out. Here's the reality that really gives an advantage to small businesses. It's one thing to say, yeah, we'd like to focus on small businesses, but you guys have all heard this from people before. It's kind of a talking point. Here's the thing in their world. If you're trying to hit a 50% small business goal, that's 50% of the total money you're putting out to all subcontractors. So if you give a large, high-value contract to a big company, what do you just do to your percentage? Accountants? You diluted it. So for them, as Ron just said, I'm always telling them, go for small businesses. Not only are they focused on small businesses, but if they're forced to go the other way, they dilute their percentage. So you're motivated both ways. Every time they award a contract, they're cognizant of it. And this is every agency, tens of thousands of agencies and primes. So this is the way this works. In every situation, there's a government agency, there's primes. I believe there's 3 primes over at your project.
There is, yeah.
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
No,
Yeah. There's primes, and then those primes are looking for subcontractors. Now, Ron said something really important earlier that people don't believe. Every day of my life and my job, it's like I'm wrapping a present here. Every day in my life, 2 things are happening at the same time, which seems like they shouldn't, and this is why I have a job. Every day, I deal with hundreds of small businesses that would love to do work with the government, have no idea how to, and they perceive, unless you've worked in this like Chad has, they perceive that nobody with the primes or the government agencies would want to talk to them, like they're trying to break through a wall. At the same time, I'll spend some of my day talking to agencies and primes, and their buying team can't find the small businesses they need. This thing in the middle is where I am all the time. It's 2 groups that both are struggling to find the other group. It's like an 8th grade dance. One group's in that corner, one group's in that corner, and no one's in the middle, except me. And you alluded to that. So Ron has 10 buyers, 10, right? Yeah. 10 buyers. Every prime and every agency has this entire team of procurement buyers. All day long, they're looking at this list. We need to find people to do these things all day long, master list. And they're struggling to find small businesses to do those things. At the very same time, I've got hundreds of small businesses who want to do these things and don't know how to communicate with these people. This is my whole job in the middle. But the thing I want you guys to understand is both sides are in a demand cycle. Both sides are looking for the other ones like a maze. So here's how this all works. One of the things I love about doing government work, really doing what I do in general, is in the private sector, you have to kind of guess who your prospects might be. Hey, that person might use what we do based on some demographic characteristics. In the government space, every single dollar that any government agency spends is tracked, and you can access it for free. And the reason why is because of our tax dollars, and every dollar spent in our tax dollars is tracked and publicly known, and I can teach you how to access all that information in any variety, usaspending.gov, there's a lot of places to get that information. What's great about that is what I try to do with clients is small business clients, is set them up to be competitive in situations in which they can win. So I'm just gonna flip it, otherwise you're gonna have a stack of paper next to you. Yeah, I should point out to you guys, I actually told Molly before this I might not use the pad. So, whenever somebody becomes a client with me, first of all, the first thing you have to do, and most of you are clients, for those of you who aren't clients, this is free and it's easy. If you will go to kyapex.com, and yes, I'm aware I can't write, it's all good, .com, at the very top in the green, It says request free consultation, hit get started. You're gonna fill out a form, it's gonna take you about 10 minutes. When you do, it gets submitted to my admin folks. We do the entire state of Kentucky. I just do West Kentucky, but I've got 9 other people just like me who do all other pockets of the state. It'll go to my administrator. She'll verify you have to be registered to do business in Kentucky with the Secretary of State's office, and you have to be in good standing with the Secretary of State to work with us. Usually within 2 days, sometimes less, you'll get an email that says, thank you for becoming a client of the PTAC or Apex. That's still bothering me. It's just longer. Of the Apex, your consultant is Frank Bennett. He will get with you, and then I'll get with you, and we'll make an initial appointment. The whole thing doesn't take very long, and like I said, it's completely free of charge. Once you become a client, this is what I'm attempting to do with everybody. This is the space. So my life and my grant continuing for West Kentucky is based on 2 things. I'm the first consultant for, this is a national program, PTAC is a national program. I'm the first consultant that just does West Kentucky. Before me, it was handled out of Bowling Green. But we got a little more funding, and the key, I have 2 things that matter to me that they're gonna grade me on. The first one is that I do a whole lot of consulting. At a basic level, like an attorney, I have to spend a whole lot of time sitting on calls, talking to folks. Several of you have done this with me. I have a certain amount of that has to happen at a base level. Otherwise, they'll determine there's not enough opportunity in the area. And you've mentioned that a few times. At the second level, I have to have people win. And that's why I'm not here to consult people on how to bid on things just to bid on things. I'm here to put people in a position to win because the rest of it doesn't help me achieve my own goal. So once you become a client, first I'm gonna get a sense of what you do. And as Ron just said, every single person in this room does something that they can use. And that is true for thousands and thousands of primes and agencies all over the place. Now, the first thing we're gonna do is some basic stuff that everybody has to do that I call credentials, which is to do business, as Ron mentioned, with any government agency or prime, you have to be active in SAM.gov. I will walk you through the entire process of how to register, how to deal with renewals. Literally, there's at this point nothing in SAM.gov that can happen that I haven't seen, I hope. So we're gonna go through basic things that everyone has to do. The next one is you have to create a capability statement. The way that in the regular world we give people business cards, in the government world, people give each other capability statements. So when I talk to Ron, and I've got someone who I think is perfect for his company, I'll send him an email and I'll say, look, this company does this, they have these certifications, I've attached their capability statement. Your capability statement, which I'll walk you through the whole process of, we'll walk back and forth, I do it all day long, is gonna make up 5 elements. It basically tells what you do, what core competencies you have, as in a list of what you offer, what differentiates you from everyone else that does what you do, examples of your past performance, and how to get in contact with you. There's best practices for it, we'll walk through it. Those 2 things together, that's the price of admission. You can't work in this space if you don't have those 2 things, and that's where we're gonna start. Then, we're gonna get into some research. I'm gonna go into a system, and we're gonna pinpoint, based on what you do, who buys what you sell in the government space. And we're literally just gonna data trove, where I'm gonna look at this many company agencies are buying what you sell, and in these cases, you have an advantage. It might be because of your certification, it might be because what you offer is unique, it could be a regional advantage, it could be an advantage based on being a small business, it could be a past experience advantage. You might know how to do something better than most other companies. Just yesterday, I consulted a client where their advantage, which is interesting, is they are one of very few companies in a specific area of West Kentucky that knows how to do, they call it a pad, basically the basic pad for for building construction and what have you. There's not that many companies in that space that can do it, so that's the differentiation. What we're going to come down with in the research phase is there's about 10 or 15 agencies here we need to focus on because of by the way they buy and what you offer, you can win here. And we're just basically going to end up with a list of those companies. And I'm going to go a little deeper into this in a second. And by the way, can you tell me when I have 5 minutes? Because I have no idea what time it is. Cool. I just talk until someone tells me not to talk, really since I was 3. So that happened a lot then. So then we're going to get into an actual strategy for pursuing who buys. We're not waiting for RFPs. That's the end. What we're doing is what Ron just said to do with his firm, which is real simple. If you want to work with his firm, get with him, get registered in SAM, get a capability statement, and then in a perfect world, you'll come to him and say, okay, I'm registered in SAM, here's a copy of my capability statement, let's chat.
So in a lot of cases, even when Frank sends me an email with a capability statement, in most cases, then I actually start pursuing you. Don't be surprised if you see an email from me or one of my people that says, hey, I see your capability statement, complete a W-9 and you're registered search, and the first thing I'll ask is if you're registered at SAM.gov. To do business with the government, you have to be registered at SAM.gov if the award's over $30,000.
And it's easiest just to do it.
Yeah. The best thing to do is to do it because there's other advantages to have your information in SAM.gov.
Yep.
We can do market research in SAM.gov. If we want to see what your socioeconomic status is, we can go to SAM.gov. So the best thing to do is register right off the bat, no matter what your value of your procurement is going to be. And it will save you time if your award ever does get to exceed over 30.
Yeah, I consider it just the price of admission. If you're going after it, just do it. It's free anyway. All this stuff so far is free.
It's good to advertise. It's
It
good
is.
to say, I'm registered in SAM.gov because there's other, companies out there other than me that will want to know if you're registered in SAM.gov.
Yeah, this is getting in the weeds, but it's kind of code, which is I'm communicating to you, I want to work in the government space, is what that is. Yeah, it's kind of code that I get it or I don't. Yeah. So we're going to get into a strategy, which I'll get deeper, which is based on who we're pursuing, what do we want to do now? What is our pre-acquisition strategy? What do we know about them? How do we want to position ourselves versus competitors that I think will be relevant with them? And we're just going to churn this the same way you pursue leads in the private sector, and I'll help you make this entire plan. Where we eventually want to get to is my favorite thing about this jigsaw. A perfectly well-flowing strategy in the government space actually has 3 elements running at the same time. Getting work with the agency is only one way you can get work, and as Ron mentioned, the other way is to subcontract with a prime. So there's 3 lists that I like to run. This is, if someone's really hopping on their strategy, 3 things are happening at once. First is what we just mentioned. We have identified what government agencies buy what you sell and made ourselves a list of not more than a couple dozen because it takes work and we're busy people. Agencies where we have a specific advantage of some kind and we want to pursue this relationship and we'll make a plan. That's 1, the strategy. 2 is teaming strategy. One of the ways that government work is different from private sector work is in the private sector, you consider almost everybody else who does something similar than you a competitor. In the government sector, you can make millions of dollars teaming with companies that do something similar to you. Clients who really do well often, unless they sell something real simple, often never win a whole contract. They're always in a teaming agreement. So here's how teaming works. You guys all, I hate sports analogies. People have criticized me for this, but you guys are all going to own a baseball team for a moment. And what's great about it is you have some money for free agents and you want to put the best team out on the field. So in the world of government contracts, there's opportunities that come out that only small businesses or only certified businesses in only HubZone, only woman-owned small business, almost only service-disabled veteran-owned small businesses can bid, and big companies cannot. They're called set-asides. You guys are familiar with this well. Set-asides are the only situation I've ever seen in the business world in which small businesses have all the power. And the game of teaming works like this. I'll teach you how to see every single RFP that you want to see that comes out of any government agency. You'll literally get them in your email after we set this up. And what you're looking for, let's say that you are a woman-owned small business. Let's just use this one because we've overused HubZone today. You're a woman-owned small business. And something comes over that says only woman-owned small businesses can bid on this opportunity. It's a set-aside. But in reality, what they need is bigger than what you can do. And you know if you bid on this yourself, you're going to lose your next baseball game against everybody else who's going to bid on this. What's great in the government space is that's not the time to give up. That's the time to do your free agency. What teaming strategy is developing relationships with big businesses that bid on work similar to yours, to which they produce value for you, you produce value for them. So this is one of my favorite games. So you see this woman-owned small business set-aside come out. The next thing you're going to do is go to your roster of relationships you've developed with bigger companies, like yours in fact, with bigger companies in the space, and you're going to call your contact and say, look, this RFP just came out. It's a set-aside. You can't bid on it. Let's team together and go after this opportunity, and if we win, we'll split up the work. All of a sudden, your bid, your proposal is going to be one of the best proposals they're going to see. And you're going to win that next game a higher percentage of the time by a lot. As I tell people all the time, I would rather win 50%, nobody wins 100, that's not the world. I'd rather win 50% of 10 contracts than 100% of one a year. That's one of the ways that government is so different from private sector, is that big businesses often are not your competitor because you rarely will pursue the same work they pursue. And instead, they can bring you, if you team, you gain all their past experience as part of the proposal, all of their employees and skills, and often they have their own proposal writing team, which takes a burden off of you because you're busy as a small business. You see Chad nodding because writing proposals takes a long time, doesn't it? Yeah. So a lot of times they can write the proposal, they have assets you don't have, they have past experience you don't have, but what you have is they can't bid on this. And you can. And you're bringing them value, they're bringing you value, and once you win one that way with a large company, how many more times do you think they're going to call you? Go ahead.
So Kim and I have done that before.
Oh.
Not to give away Kim's,
Congratulations.
but I've reached out to Kim before and said, hey, can you sub with this group? Because I need them. And Kim has been able to do that. So that works more than what you think it does. And so, yeah, that's a good point. There are a lot of opportunities with what we call first tier contractors.
Thank you. I had no idea. I don't want to put you on the spot, but feel free to comment on that if you'd wish.
As far as subbing to large.
The whole thing and, yeah, anything you want, really.
Well, really, I mean, in the government industry, and Chad can speak to this, a small can't win without a large.
Unless it's a really small deal, yeah.
Right, but typically the procurements that we see require services that we can't provide 100% as small. And to Ron's point, there might be a specialty niche, large business that they need, but they need it through a small business contract. And so we can subcontract that out to the prime contractor
really important to be able to establish that. Chad and I are working on some things. So the other thing out there, and I don't want to get too.
It's all good.
into this, is, there are mentor protege programs out there where small businesses can get established with larger business, and they have an advantage, much like the socioeconomic status folks. I can, in some cases, go straight to a mentor protege and make some more without even competing. So you need to make sure that you get involved with, Frank can talk to you about mentor protege.
Yep.
I can talk to you about mentor protege folks. Kim has had a mentor protege.
Oh, great.
With her group. So, and that's one of the things, if you'll read my prime contract, I got this prime contract flows down like Frank says, and you shall do this, and you shall do this, and one of them is you shall do business with a mentor protege.
Yep.
So I gotta check that box. So, and you shall do business with a small woman owner. And I have to check that box. I don't have choice. But we enjoy doing that. But, so we've got mentor protege programs out there now. They're great. I mean, so just, don't be afraid to communicate with Frank or me. But there's advantages out there that you guys need to know about that you probably
Yeah.
don't know about yet, right? And that's why we're here.
And to the teaming point too, you don't some procurements might require 3 or 4 team workers.
Yeah.
We have had procurements that we've had, as many as 10 on our team. Now, once you win the contract, the small business is required to execute 51% of the work. So that's what you've really got to make sure that it's the right fit for your firm, and that you can meet that obligation because you are held to that position.
Yeah.
So just so you guys know how important this is to us, and I'm going to take over.
No, it's good. I just realized I had 9 minutes.
But I require my buyers, we have a bidders list. Every file is required to have a bidders list. And if the governor comes in and audits my files, they'll say, okay, you're doing what you're supposed to, you're not doing what you're supposed to. I make my buyers get their bidder list approved by me before they solicit, because I'm looking to make sure they're soliciting small businesses. I don't want them to get complacent, right? Because that's what happens. I'm busy, I'm in a hurry, I'm gonna get complacent, and I'm gonna go out to the small businesses. But I make them, submit that to me via email, and I approve it, or I'll say, add this small business before you solicit. That's how important small businesses are to us, so.
That's awesome, guys. Thanks for sharing. But yeah, and just real quick last note on that. I had no idea you guys had done that. Thanks for bringing that up. Is that when agencies put out RFP, they love seeing teaming proposals. Because at the end of the day, they're looking at, so let me get this straight. I can achieve my set aside and get the experience of this $100 million company who's done this 200 times. I'm on board with that. So you're absolutely right. Unless it's a small, specific thing, in most cases, you've got a partner.
It's more efficient too, rather than me writing 5 contracts to meet my 5 needs on that project, I can write 1. And then the management of that contract is on, the first tier. So if Kim is teaming with 5 people, she has to manage those 5
Yeah,
people.
and you don't.
And I don't.
I have a question around that. When you guys see that from I guess,
Yeah.
all sides of that house, are you typically seeing that as a true teaming agreement? Like, they're truly teamed, or are you seeing that as the small business being the prime?
The small being the prime.
So that's a really good question.
Yeah.
In that case, you would want the small to be the one
Prime.
that submits the proposal.
Yeah.
Yep.
But not necessarily that they're truly.
No.
Like a JV.
No, it's not a JV.
It's a small business is prime, your large businesses are falling under.
Correct.
So another thing that comes to mind as you talk about those things is, if I write a contract to a large business for more than $700,000, I require that business then to submit a small business report.
Yep.
And out of their $700,000 contract, they gotta report to me any opportunity they have to do business with a small business. And that is something I have to report quarterly. So the small business thing is huge.
Yeah.
Is my point. And we pursue it even with the large businesses. And
Yeah, and thank you for, that's a fantastic conversation. And that's why I'm telling you guys, this really, I'll get there. This really is occurring.
Yeah.
Where every day he's trying to tug a war in these small businesses to learn how to do this dance that we all just described, because he has to have it. And then these small businesses, that's why I exist, is getting these small businesses to understand this game that just occurred, because he needs them and it makes them money. Real quickly, so what I like to do is help people just get a roster, and we're gonna look at who wins and where you can produce value for them, so you can contact them with your capability statement and build a roster of companies that do what you do, where you can give them value through certifications or some other things. I'm running out of time, so I won't get into that. The third thing is a strategy for subcontracting. So, you've dealt with this quite a bit. When a prime wins a big contract, really any contract over a few $1 million, the moment they win that contract, they don't have the resources to do it. No one does, because why would you keep these people on payroll for absolutely no work? So I feel you've had this discussion. Yeah, because obviously if you need 30 people on a project, they weren't just sitting there on your roster. So I have seen so many times where one of my clients actually bid on the agency RFP, request for a proposal, and lost. And then the strategy is they immediately contact whoever won and say, look, we have this certification, we have these skills, can we get into this project as a subcontractor, which is what Ron deals with every single day. So what the strategy is about that I tell people, and this is different from the private sector too, is I'll have businesses who submit a proposal to the agency and they lose and they don't do anything. And I'll say the next thing you need to do is find out who won, because they don't have the resources they need to fulfill. Otherwise, you wouldn't be looking for subcontractors all day. And you do this, and you can help them with their socioeconomic goals. So subcontracting after an award is given is a multi-billion-dollar business, and I have clients where all they do is subcontract. They do a specific thing, and their clients are all primes. They never do work with agencies, and they make a lot of money doing it. Yes? Oh, thank you. Thought you were just waving. It's good to see you. Yeah. After I said that to you, I realized there's a clock right behind the camera. So I can look like I'm talking to these people on the camera and be looking at the clock. Yes. Go ahead, Chad. That's good.
So we've been in business, I've been in business for 18 years. For 17 years of that, we have only been subcontractors to huge agency firms who, when they either get overbooked, overwhelmed, or need to meet a subcontracting plan, they call I-5, and we get a tiny little portion of their massive contract, which is why we exist. Eventually, after 18 years of business, that has finally morphed into getting some opportunities that are prime, and we're trying to keep that flywheel rolling.
Yeah, excellent. Oh, I'm sorry, do you have something? Oh, thank you so much. I paid him to say that stuff. No, thank you, that's spot on. Yeah, that's spot on. And so what happens, and this is why every part of this is equally valuable to having a successful strategy. But as Chad just mentioned, as you build relationships with agencies, or I'm sorry, with companies that regularly win contracts, and by the way, I can tell you exactly who wins any contract, anytime, and I have all the historical data. So once you find someone who wins a lot, and you work with them a few times, who do you think they're going to call over and over again after you did a good job and are helping them with their socioeconomic goals? You're going to get the call above anyone they don't know 1,000,000 times over, and Chad just said they've done this for 18 years. And you can make a great living doing that. So a really good strategy has elements of all three, and that's what we work on, is building this. Now, I need to talk in the last 3 minutes about certifications. Part of this is that we're going to build a plan to get certifications that you qualify for and are going to benefit you. There's 4 federal certifications. They're all through the SBA. HubZone, woman-owned small business, service disabled, veteran-owned small business, and a program that's called 8A. And yes, that's a 6-letter acronym. It took me a while too. So real quickly going through this, as Ron mentioned some of this, become a client, get with me, we'll make a whole strategy on this. These 4 have set-asides. These 4 are directly links to goals that all agencies have and all primes have. We'll spend a bunch of time with it. There's another level that benefits you too, and I don't have another page, so I'll just write this over here. There's also Kentucky level certifications that state and local agencies actively look for. So for example, I deal with the city of Lexington quite often. They are as passionate about their state certifications as folks on federal contracts are about their federal. They are a whole brand of things that end in business enterprise. So we'll look through which ones are best for you. The ones I do a lot are DBE, WMBE, MBE. It's disadvantaged business enterprise, women minority business enterprise, women business enterprise. There's actually like 9 others. We could spend all day and I have 2 minutes. But we're gonna get together in our effort to make you as competitive as possible here and look at every single thing we can find that increases your value and make you more competitive. Because like I said, I need people to win. That's ultimately what matters to me. And part of that's gonna be certifications, part of it's gonna be unique value to specific folks, and a lot of it's gonna be about what the RFPs say and what they need. But like Ron says, it really is, and I'm gonna summarize to this, we'll go to questions. Is it okay if we go over a few minutes? Okay, you're not kicking us out today? No, if they want to stay. So listen, I'll give you a donut. If you good, okay. At the end of the day, it comes down to finding a way, I'll just use this one, to create a strategy that makes you the most competitive for the work you need to go after and to bridge the gap on that first one between folks like Ron who are looking for your small business and you being a company in a position to match what he needs. And if that happens, as Chad just told you, you can have work for a long, long time. So, phew, we whipped through that thing, yes.
So Frank says he wants everybody to win, and that's true. We do too, in a sense, because if you don't win, ask for a debrief. Because a debrief will help you win next time. Because in a debrief, we can tell you where you are weak. We can tell you weren't technically acceptable, you weren't competitive, you didn't have the right staff. We can tell you things that you won't know if you don't ask for a debrief. So debriefs are key.
Yeah, it's part of the strategy. Thank you for saying that. And I actually ask for debriefs even when companies win, because at least that gets into the mind of the person making a decision. It's the grade. So you turn in your essay, you get your grade back from your teacher, it's the grade. We can't improve the puzzle unless we get the grades. So great, thank you so much. Absolutely, that needs to happen every time. We're at time, so I never got to questions. Does anybody have questions, comments, anything?
Do you have any insight to the HubZone map and
Yes.
the legacy employees, and of course your principal office? Do you get that?
Yes, I'm very well aware of it. Yeah. In fact, Chad was in a meeting where we all met on it, about a month ago, 3 weeks ago. Yeah, I'm very aware of what's going on with it. Yep. I absolutely am massively behind the efforts that the chamber is making because it's affecting a whole lot of my clients.
And if I interpreted it correctly, the legacy option, if you have recertified within 180 days of the map changing, you can count those employees in your principal office as legacy and still maintain your certification, even if, did I interpret that right?
It depends who you ask. And I hate to give that answer. I hate to give that answer, but we are in a moment. I just heard someone say this with a federal agency on a call yesterday. We are in this every time they do this, which as you know is every 5 years. We go into 6 months of a flux where everybody's freaked out on how this is going to implement as it goes over. Unfortunately, you just asked me something where I have heard from people in agencies 2 different answers. And I just hate giving wrong information. We just have to keep up. I'm watching this very closely. We actually dealt with this issue. I'm watching this really closely. I'm helping the chamber because it's hurting what's hurting me, honestly, but it's really hurting a lot of companies, not just in Paducah, but a lot of areas in West Kentucky got cut.
So we polled all of our.
Oh, great.
HubZone vendors, and we've got 2 vendors that will lose their certification,
That's good because,
which is good, yeah.
We're one of,
I advise you.
we've had HubZone, we've had it, lost it, get back, because of map changes over the course of 18 years. And we can't maintain it unless this legacy thing works.
yep.
Or if the governor doesn't do what we've asked him.
Yeah.
So the other thing I would encourage you guys, if you're pursuing HubZone, one, know maps, and then 2, the chamber has a letter that they're sending to the government, the governor, that they've pursued that and are asking us as HubZone companies or potential HubZone companies, take the time to write that letter because the map changes.
July 1st.
Yeah. So take the time, check with Molly or Carrie. Carrie's kind of coordinating that. And take the time to write the letter because it affects all of us.
Yeah, it honestly affects the entire economy in Paducah.
I will say, I mean, I've had HubZone forever. It changes the narrative when you start talking to somebody because HubZone's an anomaly in the subcontracting world. And so it changes the narrative. My opinion is you'll get somebody's attention because you have the HubZone designation and then all you have to do is show up, perform, and do what you say.
Yeah, exactly. We could spend an hour just on that. Thank you so much for that. Guys, we're over and Molly's done the thing where she stands up, where it's like, I don't want to openly kick you off stage, but this is as close as I'm getting. So thank you so much, guys. I'll stay around afterward if anyone wants to chat.